All right, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Brock Ganeles, standing by outside New York City. I am located in the ATL, just outside the perimeter, also known as ladies and gentlemen, he caves. Let's begin with a look at the markets. The markets, the big wigs on Wall Street, the cabinet. The phone was ringing, obviously, ad nausea for Donald Trump, with people telling him, are you out of your freaking mind? You are costing us billions of dollars. Already, it was like 10 trillion on paper. But he finally caved, put a 90-day suspension or whatever on most of these tariffs, and the markets responded. What were your thoughts on that, Brock?
Well, I mean, a 10% gain after like a 20% decline, right? Still has you deeply in the hole, right? I saw someone describe it as like he took a 10, made it a 2, brought it back to a 6, and MAGA's cheering, right? So, like, I mean, but he took the L. Trump does have that self-preservational sense to, crawl out of a hole or out of something. He clearly backed down.
Sure.
Talk to that more. I think it showed him to be a weak man impersonating a strong man. The international community stood strong. Trump was saying they were all bending the knee and begging him to lift the tariffs. But in reality, what we saw is they all put counter tariffs, spooked the markets, and ultimately Trump realized he had to walk away because sentiment was going so hard against him. So he does what he always does, which is start to gaslight and lie and pretend we didn't see what we just saw.
Right, right, which is ridiculous in and of itself. The fact that we had this buffoon as the global leader. Remember that the presidency used to come with the title ruler of the free world, right? He ain't really the ruler of the free world. He doesn't rule much of America. People just don't have, people are now coming out and saying in their interviews, people are being interviewed about the economy, about the markets, about people's personal finances, and they're saying, this guy doesn't respect the office. And we don't respect him because he doesn't care about the impact that these stupid decisions are having on everyday Americans. He's not working for the people. He's working for himself.
That is part of the message that we have to keep pounding rank and file MAGA on. We just have to keep telling them that Trump does not care about them. We have to tell them he is using you for his own personal power and aggrandizement. And maybe that'll seep in with a certain percentage and they'll peel off, one by one, begrudgingly because they love MAGA so much. It gives them so much, stature to be a part of that, part of this for white people to be a part of this white supremacy movement. It's hard to peel them out of it. And it's hard to get people to admit they made a mistake. So hammering on that he doesn't care about you to them is kind of part of the workable messaging strategy.
Right, right. But, Brock, again, where does white supremacy get us? In a global economy, in a more diverse country than we've ever known and seen before. Black people aren't going anywhere. Latinos aren't going anywhere. Asian folk aren't going anywhere. South Asian folk aren't going anywhere. But this white supremacy, like I said, what's my old saying? When white America catches a cold, black America gets pneumonia. Got a text from a friend today. He just found out that a very prestigious university in New Jersey is going to be canceling their financial careers and exposure program over the summer for kids of color because of the political climate. So that impacts those kids who were going to have an opportunity to find out more about personal finance, about careers in finance, about how Wall Street works. Simple stuff that we're trying to teach to Black and brown America so they can be more prosperous. And these institutions are caving because of the political climate. It also hurts the people who were putting together this program, i.e. my friend, right? He was going to get paid for this, right? He had sponsors lined up, he had corporate partners, and now they're taking money out of his pocket and his family's finances, right? So it doesn't just affect nobody when we say anti DEI. And that's what white America needs to understand. We've got look at the beautiful suburbs around New York City, right? Think about the well to do white families that we grew up next to, right? In the Scarsdale, the Larchmonts, the Eastchesters, right? Dobbs Ferry, these beautiful communities, Mayapack, Carmel, even town of Cortland, beautiful communities with very successful people who aren't impacted and who aren't moving. Now, I'm sure some of them were out there with you, marching arm to arm on Saturday, but they've got to be more dialed in to the global impact and the diversity of thought and people that we need in order to compete. I'm just talking about competing with the rest of the world, right? Because I keep saying we've got to educate a 22nd century workforce, right? This is not manual labor anymore. It's computer. What are we saying? 100 million AI jobs are going to be created. We've got to do better when it comes to including everyone in America.
Well, we have to compete with, but we're also trading with. We're economically benefiting from our trade with Southeast Asia, with India, with all of South America, with all of Africa, right? These are all people
Yes.
of color in essence, right? It's like, but the term globalist became a slur, right? That came in the first, as if to have a view of the world where you feel connected to and connected with other people in the world is a negative. But white supremacy is a retreating back. Isolationism ties in to white supremacy. Retreating back to these confines of this smaller world and this narrower thinking where you, as a white person, generally white men, get this dominant position and don't care about anyone else who's a part of your society. In fact, you want them out of the society, right? It's apartheid, it's, cleansing. Like you think of the things that, what's his name, Miller, wants to see. We're going to deport brown people. We're going to subjugate people of color or people of LGBT that aren't quite the, quote, mainstream, quote, real Americans, right? We've been hearing that term for our entire lives, who are the real Americans. But it's a losing game.
Right. Right.
It's a losing game, but currently it's the ruling ethos of the country because in essence we voted for it.
Right.
And
Right.
now we're getting it. So yeah, the negative impacts to black and brown communities, the powers that be from Trump and the people he's surrounded with do not care. I mean, they don't care about most white people either, but like they certainly don't care about anyone black and brown.
Right.
This leads me to my question. When I looked at today and the Trump backing down, because I viewed the backing down today as a sign of weakness that shows you when Trump is punched in the nose and met head on, he buckles because he's a weak man, masquerading as a strong man.
Right.
Here in this country, we've talked about the protest and then what's going on since. What are we doing here? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, are we doing anything? Because
Right.
I'm still in the camp where, yeah, a whole bunch of us got out and marched on Saturday, mostly old white people, in very, very polite marches all over the country where there was not a single violent act the entire day. Not one person got arrested. No one got beat with a stick
Nightstick.
from a policeman. No one, right? None of that. None of it happened. Nothing was unruly. No one disturbed the peace, right? No
Right.
one even got flagged for jaywalking on Saturday, right? 3.5 million people on the street, no, not even jaywalking. So, okay, so we did a polite rally and showed good numbers, and I was happy and proud to be a part of it that white people got out there. But now, since then, what the fuck are we doing? Do we have a message? Is there a message that's going to bring more people out there? Or are white people just going to go march again on the 19th and hold hands and have another boring docile, quiet, polite march with no leaders, no message. And like, what are we trying to accomplish? Like, what is the goal? Are we trying to get more people registered to vote? Like, is that the goal? I don't know.
Right.
I don't see any of that, and I personally don't think we can wait. Like, are we trying to get Trump out of office or not?
Right. Which should be the goal.
Which is,
And
to me, that's the end game. And if that's
it's
the
got to
end
be.
game, let's work back from there and start talking about, well, what are the steps that are going to be required to literally get Trump removed? Because I think that's the end game. That has to
Right.
be the end game. We can't sit through 4 years of this.
No, no. And I don't know how anyone could physically endure the kind of stress this administration is heaping on itself or regime. But I thought about what you were saying earlier is that, he's a weak man masquerading as a tough guy, Putin, Kim Jong Un style leader. He's neither of those two. Those guys are ruthless. They will,
Yeah,
cut your
they're real
tongue out
tough
and
guys.
feed it to
Yeah.
you. Yeah, they're for real killers. I mean, Vladimir Putin is about that life. But we are dealing with an individual who, if we put the numbers in his face, if we start shutting him down, blocking his convoys, right, making his life very, very difficult and very miserable, he'll back down. He will go away. He doesn't want the smoke. He doesn't want the smoke.
Imagine if just the press peppered him with really tough questions like they would any other president. What if
Right.
he would stop having those daily conferences, press
Yep.
conferences in the Oval Office because he'd be getting in fights every day because he can't answer any of the questions that he's asked. He has no fucking idea what's going on, right? And he can't take the criticism. He's so thin-skinned, right? He
That's
would try
why
to.
that's why he's shutting the media down and shutting them out, giving the AP hell, right? Wants to buy TikTok. He just wants to be able to control all the messaging all over the place. That's why he got Musk to buy Twitter. Right? Look what they did to Twitter. They made it a right wing shitstorm of conspiracy theories and made up crap that is just literally worthless if you have a competing point of view. So I feel like if you get real, imagine if he had to deal with the questions Joe Biden had to deal with,
Start
right?
asking tougher questions.
Yes,
I liked where you're going when you were starting to say it's like, because the word I was thinking about, we got to start making Donald Trump's life uncomfortable.
yes,
Right? Like he's got to be disrupted all the time. He
all the
needs
time.
to be badgered. Like every other politician gets badgered in America relentlessly. And really that's what the international community did to him, right? The international community just came at him. The Canadians came back hard. The Brits came back hard. The French came back hard. The Germans came back hard. And they're all just hitting him with like, this is ridiculous. This is absurd. We're going to fight this. Mexico, we're going to fight this. And then it all added up to in essence, a force that riled the markets, right? And ultimately got him to back down. So how are we going to mimic that here in America? And when are we going to amp up the energy level and the animosity? Like fuck the reaching across any aisles or bridging any fucking gap, like when are we going to have animosity?
Right,
All the time. You come after a university, you can take their funding. How about the school president giving a big fuck you? Like,
right.
how about they all collectively? How about all the law firms do the same? How about everybody
Absolutely.
just does that all the time? And if everyone's fighting all the time, like we need to be a pack of hyenas, just like constantly.
You're absolutely right, and that's my thought. Let's make these clowns uncomfortable because I was just reading this morning. First of all, we all know about the dismantling of Social Security and how much effort they're putting into making our older loved ones get the money that is due them because they paid into the system for nearly 40 or more years. Right? And now these clowns like Dan Bongino, the lunatic podcaster who's now the deputy FBI director, needs a security force round the clock of 20 people. How much is that costing the American taxpayer? Where's Doji on that one? Where's Doji on Cash Patel's brand new office furniture and drapes and fitness coach? Right? It's about the grift. They're all grifters and they're too comfortable already. And we need to rattle those cages and shake their asses loose.
I thought you were going to say he had 20 security guards because he's worried. And I was going to be like, good, he should be worried. He should be worried about just cruising around in polite society as if, like, you know, he has not a care in the world, because he should feel like he has a country full of enemies, right? He should feel like there's an intimidating crowd of people out there, you know, ready to confront him.
No doubt.
Every stop should be a confrontation. There really should be no comfortable moments for this administration. And that has to come from the press, and it has to come from the people. We're going to have to be protesting everything and confronting everything. Because where we did get that is in the legal system, right? Mark Elias and his group. And like, so everything's been fought in the courts, but we got to take that same fight out into the streets, and not just marching to show a presence or to show, you know, this is what democracy looks like. Well, a march isn't democracy. Like, democracy was when we voted back in November. Democracy was actually those votes in Florida that we lost, so that, you know, still 2 more seats got refilled, so that, you know, we're less likely to be able to overturn anything in the House. Like, that's democracy. I think we got to be a step harsher. We have to be disruptive in the way that the markets disrupted American life and disrupted the Trump movement. The markets, the financial markets, the invisible hand of the financial markets disrupted Trump. Well, how are we going to disrupt Trump on a day-to-day basis, like when ICE is trying to, you know, throw people in the back of vans?
Right.
When they're trying to pull money from all these programs, and when the rule of law is going, like, it's going to take people and everybody. I hope the business community learned a lesson. They all rolled over and folded.
Yeah.
And everything just went on around them. Then the tariffs came in anyway, even though they folded and kissed the ring. Then the markets tanked. Then their stocks tanked, and all their beautiful stock options are underwater, so they're all worth a shitload less than they thought they were as of a week ago, and they're still not close to back to where they were. Then maybe they learned a lesson that they should have spoken up in advance and stop being so wimpy. And the way to do it is to confront things in the moment, not wait until the bad shit happens. The bad shit's going to happen. You let it happen, it's going to happen. These guys aren't going to stop on their own.
Absolutely not. And you know, it really should be a disruption of his day-to-day operation. I don't know if we've got enough people. Maybe when the summer hits, you know, we can, you know, boycott his birthday and just, you know, screw the parade route. You know, everybody drive to
Absolutely. That parade will be sabotaged. We need people. We're going to all be Tiananmen Square, standing in front of tanks if we have to.
Absolutely.
Thousands deep. That parade is not happening.
Absolutely not. Not especially at a cost of what, $75-80 million. It cannot happen. We should drive to DC, park on the parade route, and never let it get off the ground. Thousands of cars along the parade route. It's easy to gridlock DC. I mean, it doesn't take much. You know, a few thousand cars, and his parade route is fucked. And if they want to start towing cars, go right ahead. It'll take you, what, a week to move thousands of cars. And where are you going to put them? Where are you going to take them? You got no place to go with them. So, you know, we need to start making life, because these guys are making life difficult for the most vulnerable and our elderly, while they're destroying the Social Security system so they can privatize it so the rich guys can make more money. These guys like Doug Burgum, the Secretary of the Interior, making his staff play wait staff for his guests and cook fresh baked cookies. The fuck is that? Who does that? Who doesn't quit their job as a political appointee when someone says, oh, by the way, you know, I know you're a political employee, but I'm going to need you to wear a black suit and a white tie with a white, a white shirt with a black tie and, serve my friends for this dinner party I'm having this evening. Get the fuck out of here. It's all this entitlement that is happening that they're using. I mean, Burgum is using, Department of Natural Resources helicopters for his own personal travel. Doji, I thought you were getting rid of the waste, right? I thought you were getting rid of the fraud.
Corruption.
It's all a big smokescreen.
Corruption's contagious, right? Once you see it at the top, everyone starts doing it. I mean, we had it in the last administration. We'll have more of it now because we have worse people. But look, it's good to see the third acting head of the IRS resigned. Third one to resign in protest of this whole initiative to now get the tax information of, non-citizens who paid taxes. Right. Ironically, we're kicking them out because they're a drain, but really they've been paying taxes the whole time and getting no benefits. But now they have their data. So those actions matter because it highlights the wrongdoing of the administration. And
yes.
we have to stop playing defense also of always just trying to defend basic shit. And we have to go on offense. And going on offense is being disruptive, being, showing the anger more often and being much more confrontational. I mean, the Canadians have just given us the blueprint.
Right.
How to react.
Get those elbows up.
Elbows up. Like everything should be confronted and we really have to toughen up. And
right.
Watching Trump crumble today.
Right.
And scramble and now just move into, pathological liar mode, which he'll be in for a good, 48, 72 hours till he can somehow try to get the attention off of this onto
right.
the next thing, which will
right.
also be his goal, his goal. And we just have to just keep punching.
Yes, sir. That's got to be it, bro. All right, my friend, good stuff today. At least we're seeing him back down. We're seeing him get hit in the mouth. And we're seeing the rest of the world respond to this moron. And we need to take a page out of their book. So let's do it. Let's keep the pressure on. And let's talk more about how we can be disruptive. Because we've got to get some good ideas, some practical ideas that we can actually implement. Even if it's blowing up the presidential phone lines, however we can shut that down, right? Whatever makes the Republicans' lives more difficult, we need to be engaged in, especially Congress, who refuses to act.
And all the while this opposition party develops a message that actually inspires more people to get out there with the old white people who marched the last time. Because It's got to be bigger numbers, it's got to be younger, it's got to be more high energy, and that's going to require a diverse group of people out there on the streets to get the numbers necessary for the end game, which is Trump's removal. And that's going to take a full unified group, not just a bunch of 60-plus-year-olds bitching about Social Security. So that has to come with all of this, as hopefully the disruptions is going to also be an energizer.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, my friend. Always a pleasure.
All right, Mark. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All righty. Sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Peace.